वेलकम टू आई एग्जाम बी। और आज इस वीडियो में हम कंटिन्यू करेंगे हमारा मॉक टेस्ट सीरीज डिस्कशन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट। बट बिफोर दैट डू रिमेंबर टू सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल एंड प्रेस ऑन द बेल आइकन सो दैट यू कैन स्टे ट्यून्ड एंड स्टे अपडेटेड। आपको कोई भी इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए हो या फिर आपको कोई भी क्वेश्चंस या क्वेरीज हो, आप हमें कॉन्टैक्ट कर सकते हो थ्रू द ईमेल आईडी और यू कैन गिव अस अ कॉल ऑल्सो ऑन द नंबर विच इज डिस्प्लेड ऑन द स्क्रीन। इसके अलावा आप हमारी वेबसाइट को भी विजिट कर सकते हो जहाँ पे कि आपको बहुत सारे इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल जाएंगे with respect to the various competitive exams. So stay tuned and stay updated. As I already mentioned, आज हम Contract Act से related Special Contract of Agency से related mock test discussion करेंगे. But before we go ahead with our mock test discussion, हम देखेंगे what does the Contract of Agency basically mean. Contract of Agency क्या हो गया? एक ऐसा contract हो गया which establishes a relationship, and this relationship is established between whom? The agent and the principal. Wherein ये जो agent होता है उसको जो है प्रिंसिपल एम्प्लॉय करता है सो दैट ही कैन एक्ट एज अ चेन और लिंक बिटवीन द प्रिंसिपल एंड द थर्ड पार्टीज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एनी ट्रांजैक्शन। तो एजेंट इज बेसिकली रिप्रेजेंटिंग द प्रिंसिपल विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एनी ट्रांजैक्शन विच ही इज अंडरटेकिंग ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल, ठीक है, एंड दैट वे ही इज एक्टिंग एज अ लिंक बिटवीन द प्रिंसिपल एंड द थर्ड पार्टी विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दैट पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन। अब हम अगर अपने मॉक टेस्ट की तरफ बढ़े तो सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन हमारा आज का है, an agent dash enforce contracts entered into by him on behalf of his principal, nor is he personally bound by them. And so you can see the various options available with respect to this particular question. And the correct option over here is A, which is cannot personally, is actually discussed under section 230 of the Contract Act, which mentions agent cannot personally enforce nor be bound by contracts on behalf of the principal because he is entering into those contracts on behalf of the principal. So he cannot personally enforce them, neither he can be bound by them personally. And so in the absence of a contract to that effect, an agent cannot personally enforce contracts entered into by him on behalf of his principal, nor is he personally bound with respect to them. So this is what section 230 is talking about. Now moving on to our next question, that is question number 2, and it mentions according to the Contract Act, where one person employs another to do an act and the agent does the act in good faith, the employer is liable for what? And you can again see the various options और इसमें से सबसे correct option जो है वो है हमारा option A, is liable to indemnify the agent against the consequences of that act though it causes an injury to the rights of the third person. So to indemnify the agent against the consequences of that act though it causes an injury to the rights of third person, which is explained under section 223, and it mentions agent to be indemnified against consequences of act done in good faith. Now moving on to our question number 3, which is mentioning that dash is a person employed by and acting under the control of the original agent in the business of agency. So you can see the options are sub agent, substituted agent, conditional agent, standard agent, either A or B, and the correct option is A, which is sub agent. So sub agent is the person who is employed by and who will be acting under the control of whom? The original agent. Section 191 talks about sub agent. A sub agent is a person employed by and acting under the control of the original agent in the business of agency. Now moving on to our question number 4, which is as per the Contract Act, when agent cannot delegate, and the options you can see over here with respect to this particular question, and the correct option is A, acts agent has expressly or impliedly undertaken to perform personally, which is A. So when agent cannot delegate with respect to those acts which he has expressly or impliedly उसने undertake किया है कि वो perform करेगा personally. Section 190 से related provision lay down करता है Contract Act में, which mentions when agent cannot delegate, agent कब delegate नहीं कर सकता है. Agent cannot lawfully employ another to perform acts which he has expressly or impliedly undertaken to perform personally unless by the ordinary custom of trade a sub-agent may, or from the nature of the agency, a sub-agent may be employed. Well, moving on to our question number 5, which mentions when principal may revoke agent's authority. So revocation of agent's authority, when it can be done by the principal, and the various options are there with respect to this particular question, and the correct option is D, which is at any time before the authority authority has been exercised so as to bind the principal. Section 203 बोलता है when principal may revoke agent's authority, the principal may revoke authority given to his agent at any time before the authority has been exercised so as to bind the principal. तो authority को जो है revoke कब कर सकता है principal with respect to the agent? It can be done by him at any time before that authority has been exercised by the agent so that it will be binding the principal. Now next question है question number 6 which mentions where the agent has himself an interest in the property which forms the subject matter of the agency. The agency cannot be terminated, can be terminated at the discretion of the principal, can be terminated at the discretion of the agent, cannot in the absence of an express contract be terminated to the prejudice of such interest, may be terminated if the parties mutually agree for that, and the correct option is D, cannot in the absence of an express contract be terminated to the prejudice of such interest. Section 202 mentions termination of agency where agent has an interest in subject matter. So this particular section mentions where the agent himself is having any interest in the property which forms the subject matter of the agency. So अगर agent को कोई भी interest है property में which is forming the subject matter of the agency, तो उस case में agency cannot be in the absence of an express contract be terminated to the prejudice of such particular interest. So this provision is laid down under section 202 of the Contract Act. So now moving on to our question number 7 और question number 7 कहता है who can become an agent? कौन agent बन सकता है? Who are eligible to become an agent? And the correct option with respect to this particular question is D, which is any person may become an agent but no person who is not of the age of majority and of sound mind can become an agent so as to be responsible to his principal according to the provisions in that behalf. So section 184 में mention है who may become an agent. As between the principal and third person, any person may become an agent. So कोई भी person जो agent बन सकता है but no person who is not of the age of majority and of sound mind can become an agent so that he will be responsible to the principal according to the provisions in that we have contained herein. Now question number 8 talks about consideration is not necessary to create agency. So which section is talking about this particular provision? And the correct option is section 185 talks about consideration not necessary. No consideration is necessary with respect to going ahead and creating an agency. Now question number 9 which provides for what are the various modes by which the contract of agency can be terminated. So termination of contract of agency that can be done by which all modes, and the correct option is either of the above. So it would be by principal revoking his authority, the agent renouncing his business, either the parties dying or becoming unsound mind. So section 201 says termination of agency, and agency is terminated by the principal revoking his authority or by the agent renouncing the business of agency or the business of agency being completed, or either the principal or the agent dying or becoming unsound mind, by the principal being adjudicated insolvent. और आज का last question हमारा है question number 10 which says when a person untruly representing himself to be the authorized agent of another and thereby inducing a third person to deal with him, liable to make compensation to the other in respect of any loss or damage which he has incurred by doing so or by so dealing. And the correct option is A, alleged employer does not ratify the act of the person untruly representing him to be the authorized agent. Section 235 बोलता है liability of pretended agent, जो pretend कर रहा है कि वो एक agent है दूसरे person का, तो उसकी liability क्या होगी? A person untruly representing himself to be the authorized agent of another and thereby inducing a third person to deal with him as such agent is liable for what? If his alleged employer does not ratify his acts to make compensation to the other in respect of any loss or damage which he has incurred by so dealing. So it is the responsibility or it is the liability of the pretended agent to compensate the other for any loss or damage which has been incurred with respect to that particular dealing if the employer is not ratifying his particular act, the acts of the pretended agent. So with this we come to an end of our discussion with respect to the mock test of special contracts. Stay tuned, stay updated. We'll be coming up with various other mock tests.